In the headlines, 2 persons rescued from a Atlantic Ocean boat accident in Lagos. Troops raid IPOB East Security Network Camp in Enugu, bust gun runner, arrest notorious commander. Niger military junta threatens to eliminate Bazoum over planned military intervention. And on the foreign scene, South Africa's former president Jacob Zuma briefly taken to hospital, then released in remission. Hello there, good evening and welcome to the news update on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Now we begin in Lagos as the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service says it has rescued alive 2 men whose canoe capsized and fell into the Eco Atlantic Ocean by the Eco Hotel and Suites in Lagos. Now this is contained in a statement on Friday by the director of the service, Margaret Adeseye. Adeseye says the incident occurred at about 9 a.m. on Friday, stressing that operatives were immediately deployed to the area for rescue mission. She said both firemen and other state emergency responders, including support from a private boat crew, saved the victims. She said both victims are being attended to by appropriate government responders are in stable conditions. But still staying with Lagos, the State Fire Service and Rescue Service says it quelled the spread of fire at a construction site in Ibeju Lekki area of the state early on Friday morning. The director of the service, Margaret Adeseye, in a statement says the fire broke out at around 9:48 a.m. at the Craneburg construction site yard, Old Julius Berger Yard. Adeseye said the fire, which involved sets of containers used as stores, has been curtailed from spreading to the Ekpe fire crew of the Lagos State Fire Service and Rescue Commission. Now in Enugu State, the police on Thursday neutralized 3 gunmen while others escaped with several gunshot wounds after a gun duel with hoodlums in Imufu community of Igbo Eze, North local government area of the state. The State Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Daniel Ndukwe, disclosed this in a statement released on Friday in Enugu. He said that items recovered from the hoodlums include 4 pump action guns, 1 locally fabricated revolver gun, and a pistol, each with 67 live cartridges, military camouflage uniforms, suspected fabrics of IPOB insignia, objects suspected to be amulets, among other things. Now, the police spokesperson noted that the state's Commissioner of Police, Ahmed Amani, has reaffirmed the unwavering commitment of the police in the state to weed out unrepentant criminals across Enugu State. Now, the Nigerian Army says troops of the Joint Task Force in northeast Nigeria have killed 2 suspected Boko Haram terrorists crossing point along Kuka in Konduga local government area of Borno State. The Director, Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu, in a statement on Friday says the troops recovered 63 rounds of 12.7mm ammunition, 1 improvised explosive device shell, among others. He added that due to the aggressive operations of troops against Boko Haram terrorist enclaves, a notorious terrorist surrendered to troops of the 222 Battalion of Gezua in Konduga local government area of Borno State. He said items recovered from the suspect include 1 AK-47 rifle, 1 magazine, and 26 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition, adding that the suspect is currently undergoing profiling for further and necessary actions. Still talking security. In Kano, the police has arrested 3 suspects for allegedly facilitating cocaine trafficking to Saudi Arabia. Spokesman of the command, Superintendent Abdullahi Haruna Kiawa, confirmed the arrest in a statement on Friday. He said two of the suspects, Awal Ishaq and Idris Sani, reported to the police that one Hajia Sharifat Abdullahi used their wives on agreement to travel together to perform a pilgrimage, with the arrangement that they will convey some undisclosed substances from their link at Lagos Airport to deliver the substance to someone in Saudi Arabia. Superintendent Kiawa explained that both the complainants raised their concerns to the police that since their departure from Nigeria, they had lost contact with their wives and all efforts to reach them has proven abortive. He said later one of the complainants reported back to the police that he received information through a phone call from one of his wives that after the completion of this year's Hajj exercise, they were all arrested by Saudi Arabian authorities on offenses ranging from substance suspected to be cocaine being trafficked into the kingdom. The police spokesperson said the investigation led to the arrest of the principal suspect, Sharifat Abdullahi, and confirmed that the complaints were part of the arrangements and are aware that their wives will be used as couriers of the said undisclosed contents to be delivered to a lady at the airport in Saudi Arabia. The spokesperson of the police in Kano says the case has been transferred to the State Office of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, for the completion of the investigation. Now, Nigeria's military junta has threatened to kill ousted President Mohamed Bazoum if neighboring countries or the ECOWAS attempt a military intervention to reinstate him. According to a report by the Associated Press on Thursday, quote, two Western officials say the coupist issued the threat while speaking to a top U.S. diplomat. This came shortly before the Economic Community of West African States say it had directed the deployment of a standby force to restore democracy in Niger Republic after its deadline of Sunday to restore Bazoum's government expired. Now, the threat to depose President raised the stakes both for ECOWAS and for the military junta, which has shown its willingness to escalate its actions since it seized power on July 26th. Niger was seen as the last country in the Sahel region south of the Sahara Desert that Western nations could partner with to counter jihadi violence linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group that has killed thousands and displaced millions of people across the region. Meanwhile, the African Union on Friday expressed its deep concern at the reported poor conditions of Niger's ousted President Mohamed Bazoum, who is in detention, calling his treatment at the hands of the coup leaders unacceptable. AU Commission head Musa Faki Mohammed in a statement says such treatment of a democratically elected president through a regular electoral process is unacceptable. Now, the decision of the Economic Community of West African States to deploy troops to Niger Republic has not been seen as a regional body moving against a country or as a decision of an individual member nation. President of the ECOWAS Commission, Omar Aliou Toure, said this, that it should rather be seen as a resolve of the West African leaders to uphold agreements all member countries have signed to. Kehinde Amodu reports.
By directing its Committee of Chiefs of Defense Staff to activate its standby force and deploy to Niger, ECOWAS has not declared war on its member state. The president of the ECOWAS Commission explains that the option of peace remains very much on the table.
ECOWAS has been engaged in peaceful and diplomatic efforts to effect the restoration of constitutional order in Niger, and the communique has made it very clear the authority has kept that window open.
But it seems the consensus among West African leaders is that the military junta in Niger should be eased out.
We do not accept, we will not accept coup d'etats. And I think these putschists must go. If they don't let Bazoum out to be able to exercise his mandate, I think we should move ahead and get them out. Bazoum is a democratically elected president. He should be freed. He should be able to exercise his mandate freely.
The ECOWAS decision is also not being driven by a single country, but is a collective agenda of leaders of the regional bloc.
So this is a regional initiative. It's not an individual country going after another country, or a community going after, or the community going against citizens of the community. Nigerians are ECOWAS citizens, and I think it is important we all recall that before the attempted coup, nobody imposed sanctions on Niger.
I want to insist, this is not a Nigerian affair. It's an affair of ECOWAS. ECOWAS is nearly 400 million people, 240 million in Nigeria, 140 million in the West African Monetary Union. So this is 400 million people. If we don't have democracy, do you think that our countries will be able to move ahead? This coup d'etat is not acceptable. We should put an end to it.
The outcome of the extraordinary summit in Abuja has sent reverberations across the region. All eyes are on ECOWAS to see if it will follow the path of diplomacy and peace, or if, at the last resort, it will be forced to roll out the tanks. From the federal capital, Kehinde Amudu, Trust TV News.
Now, residents of Jos, the Plateau State capital, are expressing divergent views over the proposed use of military force to restore democratic government in Niger if the coup plotters refuse to hand over power to the democratically elected president. Their views come as several calls have been made by countries to the military junta to reinstate President Mohamed Bazoum, but the military has refused. Ado Musa reports from Jos.
In what seems to be a defiance to calls by ECOWAS to restore power to the overthrown president of Niger, the military leaders in the country have since formed a new government made of 21 ministers. Residents in Jos are expressing divergent views over the refusal of the military government in the country to hand over power to Bazoum. While some are of the opinion that ECOWAS should continue dialogue with the military leaders, others are saying the use of force is the better option.
Our president, that is Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I believe that the man has a means and a way of bringing out solution to this problem. But using force, no, because we already have a lot of problems in Nigeria. So adding this to our list of problems will not be nice to us.
When you look at how the people of Niger Republic are celebrating because of this, you will understand that many of them are going through a very hard period. So they think that it will be better for them to have a military government than a democratic government.
I am of the opinion that ECOWAS should use force to restore democratic government in Niger, because what the military leaders did is of no good for African countries. Let ECOWAS use troops to deal with these military leaders. ECOWAS had, after its meeting on Thursday in Abuja, decided to continue to engage with the military leaders in the country. But people are asking, what next line of action could ECOWAS take if the military insists on holding on to power? Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Well, you're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up ahead, Gombe residents lament hike in prices of commodities as prescription drugs skyrocket. Details of this and many more coming up ahead after the break. Welcome back to the news update on Trust TV. Here's a quick recap of our top stories at this hour. 2 persons rescued from Eco Atlantic Ocean boat accident in Lagos. And troops raid IPOB East Security Network camp in Enugu, bust gun runner and arrests a notorious commander. Now, residents of Lagos State have called for accountability from members of the recently inaugurated Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. While reacting to the committee's inauguration by President Bola Tinubu, they maintain that taxpayers will be satisfied with the committee's job if they approach their jobs with equity. Here's the report.
For some Nigerians in Lagos, the move to inaugurate the committee is a welcome development, as no country can survive without taxation. However, they are more interested in the utilization of monies recovered from taxpayers. Hence, they urged the government through the committee to be accountable.
Tax is very important in Nigerian society. One, it makes the government work to do infrastructures, which is good. But government has been increasing the tax without any looking at the loopholes, the overtaxation, double taxation. Nothing has been done about it till now. So if forming this committee is a good one that will look into this taxation and also block all the loopholes that taxes are meant to be, so that there will be more money for infrastructure.
The Nigerians are looking for a situation whereby you utilize the money being given to you. Utilize the money being paid by taxpayers. It is not all about just inaugurating committee on tax refund, but what have they used the money for over the years? What has Nigerian government used the money for over the years? And how can they talk about the accountability of the money that has been paid over the years? That's the thing. These are the things we need to look into.
They are also of the opinion that the inauguration is good, as it will block loopholes, stop overtaxation, and pave way for more investors to come in and invest in the country.
The inauguration of the committee is in the right direction, because Nigeria should start looking towards looking away from borrowing to funding our budgets. That's number one. Number two is that Nigeria still has most very unbanked nationals. We have many people that are unbanked that don't use the bank, and with that it's difficult to really trace taxation. Number three is that we have multiple taxation. I'm an employer and I'm an employer, and I understand how at the local government I have to still pay taxes. At the state government I still have to pay taxes. Then because my child wants to do one or two things, I still have to pay my personal income tax. So some of the responsibility of this committee is to look into multiple taxation, which I buy into also.
As for me, let's see how it goes. I pray it works out, because we have been paying tax for long in the country. We have been paying tax since 1960 to date. So I pray it works out for good. We can't predict the future. Only God can predict.
For many, transparency and accountability in Nigeria's tax system, which many do not trust, will encourage others to pay their taxes and contribute to the nation's development.
Now, in Gombe State, residents say they are battling soaring prices of prescription drugs in drugstores across the state amidst rising cost of living in the country. Some who spoke to Trust TV say they can no longer afford medication and other consumables for their loved ones in hospital due to skyrocketing prices. Correspondent Ibrahim Ismail reports.
Abdullahi Usman, who has been working to fund medical bills of his dependent, reached a nearby store to buy medicines prescribed for the patient, but could not do so due to soaring prices. I came to buy drugs which cost 3,300 naira, but I couldn't afford the price. I reduced the drugs to meet my budget of 2,000 naira. We are struggling to eat. We have been here for almost a month. Drugs are expensive. A syringe sold 20 naira before now cost 50 naira. Drugs that used to be 1,000 naira is now 1,400 or 1,500 naira. Due to the current economic hardship in the country, many Nigerians are already struggling to put food on the table. This is now worsened by their inability to afford some over-the-counter drugs for the sick relatives.
Or something of their belongings, we can give them drugs. After treatment, they will bring back, they will get the money and bring it for us. And sometimes they have to buy just the one that they can afford and start using it for the meantime.
Those who could not afford doctor's prescription are settling for cheaper drugs despite the consequences involved.
And when you see patients cutting down the number or the frequency of drugs, ultimately the desired effect will not be achieved. So it means it's more of wasting money and it will cause a lot of problems. If it's antibiotic, there will be what we call the resistance. There should be a deliberate effort by government and at the same time non-governmental organizations and philanthropists to subsidize the drugs. If at all we want the people and the masses to get the right drug for the right ailment. Because at the moment, drug is very expensive because what determines the price is demand and supply.
Since the beginning of the year, Nigerians have survived tough times, from the scarcity of the redesigned Naira notes to the current hardship caused by the removal of fuel subsidy. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
And in Adamawa State, Governor Ahmadu Umaru has vowed to replace any member of his executive council engaged in any corrupt practice while serving Adamawa State. The governor, who made the statement during the oath-taking of the newly appointed 23 commissioners in the state, noted that their assignment is not a call to enrich themselves. From Yola, Salis Lawan has more.
Governor Ahmadu Umaru Fintri said they should abstain from corrupt tendencies and work for the peace and development of the state, saying his new council is tied to value addition. He added that they will be the most watched and scrutinized commissioners in the recent history of Adamawa State, reiterating that the state government is setting up a governance delivery machinery with key performance indicators that will be periodically used.
With some of you who were part of the last council, I must tell you that the new charge is to double every bit of what was deployed in the last administration. Those of you who are coming in fresh, I want to tell you that the stakes now, more than ever before, are higher. And we cannot afford to fail our people.
With the new rules in the discharge of governance in Adamawa, members of the State Executive Council have a huge task ahead of them.
Continuity in every ramification is essential to development and progress. Hence, I'd like to advise and inform the people of Adamawa State to be patient with us as they were in the first 4 years. I mean, clearly the achievements are there to speak for themselves. I don't think any government, right from Gongola time till this day, has performed or has achieved as much as the government of His Excellency Right Honorable Ahmadu Umaru Fintri has achieved.
On behalf of my colleagues, we assure you of working with you in trust and with the fear of Allah to see that we end the delivery of democracy dividends to the good people of Adamawa as contained in your campaign promises across the 226 wards in the state.
Government is not an easy thing the way people think. It is when you go in there, you will see the real position of the governance. But the problem we are having is people are eager to accumulate wealth. Please, my dear commissioners, don't think of that one, that accumulation, that finance, don't think. But put the state in mind and Nigeria in general.
6 out of the 24 are returning commissioners. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
And on the international scene, South Africa's former president Jacob Zuma on Friday appeared at the Estcourt Correctional Facility before being released under a remission process, according to a senior prison official. Now, the announcement comes after the Constitutional Court last month rejected an attempt to overturn a decision by a lower court that Zuma's release on medical parole was unlawful and as such should return to prison to finish his sentence. Zuma's initial arrest 2 years ago led to violent protests across South Africa that saw over 300 people killed. Zuma was sentenced to 15 months in prison for defying a court order to participate in a corruption inquiry into high-level corruption during his 9-year tenure as president of South Africa. He handed himself over to court authorities in July of 2021, but was released on medical parole due to ill health 2 months later. He denies corruption allegations. Well, that's it. You're up to date with the latest news stories at this hour. Thank you most kindly for joining us. Feel free to follow us across our social media platforms. For more content and for more news, visit trusttv.com. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching.